Welcome to the Journey to Wellness podcast, sponsored by the Essential Wellness Society and Healing Wheel Holistic. I'm Melissa Stonehill-Kyam, and I will be your host. With over 40 years' experience in the health and fitness industry, I am ready to dive in to some of the most conflicting topics we have regards to health today. Let's go. Welcome back to the Journey to Wellness podcast. I am thrilled today, seriously thrilled, to have Beth Shemo with me. We've done a lot of podcasts on a variety of things, but we have not yet touched upon the animal world. So it is just really warming my heart today that we are going to talk about the animal world and how we can love on our animals a little bit more. I'm going to have Beth introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what she does.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Shemo, and I am a Healing Touch for Animals practitioner and a Reiki Master. I've had a love of animals my entire life, and I was so excited to be able to do this work for the animals, to working with their energy bodies to balance, synchronize and stabilize their energy so that they can have better lives, that they can have the health and wellness that we strive for. Mm-hmm. And so my focus, I started out with focusing on people, but through one of my animals, I was led to this kind of work for animals, and I just absolutely love it.
You know, I think it really is becoming more into our awareness as animal owners. Better care for our animals was what Beth said. And what does that mean? That means actually we're seeing better dog foods on the shelves. Mm-hmm. That don't have all of the nonsense in it, better oral care for your pets, because that really matters. And I was reading a statistic. I love dogs. I've rescued many. And I was reading a statistic. I have a golden retriever mix about their life expectancy. And I was really surprised to find out that in the past 20 years, the life expectancy of this particular breed, even though he's a mutt, has gone down 50%. So I only can think that if an animal's life expectancy has gone down 50%, then we have a hand in that. It's not happening as a natural cycle for dogs. It has to be something, whether it's the garbagey chew toys we're giving them, or the over-vaccinating, or just the cheap dog food where people be like, oh yeah, I'm not spending that kind of money on my dog. And I think like, really? It's a family member. So now I've got a senior dog. He's going to be 11. And I noticed that his right hip's bugging him. So I started to think about, I've been giving him certain vitamins and nutrients. And now I'm starting to think about energy work. So tell me a little bit more. I'm so excited about this. Tell me more about the energy body of the dog. Let's focus on dogs if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fine.
But the energy body of the dogs, you can go horses, cows, whatever. We can get into that too. But let's discuss that.
So their energy body is very similar to ours. Mm-hmm. They have an aura. Their aura is 10 times or greater the size of ours, wow. So very large. And they use that aura for their survival, to sense if something is coming into their energy field. And if their energy field is out to where it should be, they have time to react to that, to sense, okay, I feel something out there. What is it? Do I need to fight that, or do I need to run? And it gives them time to react. And when they are able to do that, they have confidence and they're living how they're meant to instinctually. Mm-hmm. They also have the chakras and the meridians. I work with the Hara line, which is the tube that energy flows through for upright two-legged beings. It encompasses the spine, connects us into the earth, and also for the universe. Mm-hmm. And that's what feeds our bodies. So the difference with animals is that when I'm working with animals, you approach it a little bit differently than you would a human.
Okay.
For if a human is going to have an energy session, they usually lay on a massage table and relax and fall asleep a lot of times. For animals, you're really not going to be very successful in getting an animal to lay on a massage table for an hour.
Some, but not all, right?
So the smaller animals, yes, they can go on a massage table. I usually just get on the floor with them. And I don't try to contain them. They're in charge. So,
okay.
They guide the session. Some animals, especially if it's the first time, they really enjoy the hands-off work.
Interesting.
So they might be across the room, and I just sit on the floor and I offer the energy to them, and they have the freedom to walk in and out of that energy flow.
And are you like beaming?
I'm beaming. So the first thing I do is an assessment, and then go from there with energy work to correct all of the imbalances. And
can we back up a little bit? I'm really curious about the assessment.
Yes.
Like, tell me, do you use pendulums? Do you use muscle testing? What do you do?
So I use a pendulum, but I have learned to use my body as well.
Great.
So usually I'll start with a pendulum to assess the chakras and the aura field, meridians, that kind of thing. And then as I'm doing the work, I'm reassessing as I go to make sure before I move on to another technique or another area, I want to make sure that is balanced before I move on. So a lot of times I'll just use my body at that point, and for me, if it's balanced.
So you use your body as a pendulum. So I understand what that means, but can you explain to people who may not be aware of what pendulums are or what we're talking about, how we use them as well as our bodies?
Yes, absolutely. In fact,
you got one.
No, I don't.
No,
I thought I did.
I might.
So pendulum is just something weighted.
Let me see if I got mine. Keep going.
Pendulums can be beautiful a lot of times for me, since I might be in a barn or I might be outside working on an animal. I'll just use a nut on a string because there you go. Oh, that is gorgeous.
Isn't that beautiful? My daughter
beautiful.
got that for me. I love it.
So it's just a matter of holding the pendulum, and then for people, sometimes you'll put the pendulum over a chakra to see, and based on the movement of the pendulum, that tells you whether that chakra is open or compromised in some way. For animals, you want to hold it away from the body.
Okay.
And so I'll touch the animal, say I'm on the sacral chakra, and I'll ask, is this balanced? And for me, it's always the same. The movement is going to be, for me, if it's a yes answer, it's a circle.
So you're the surrogate then?
I'm
basically
a surrogate. Muscle testing, a lot of times chiropractors, massage therapists sometimes will do muscle testing where they push on an arm or a leg and you resist their movement.
This must be really hard with an animal,
You can't do that with animals. It doesn't work very well. So that's why the pendulum is really useful because this is so beautiful.
Thank you. I love it.
Because you can be the surrogate and you can do the muscle testing, and they can just lay there and relax.
The other thing about pendulums is that there's a concept of balance, right? So when a pendulum swings, it swings to the right so as to the left. And that is an equal balance of a pendulum. And when I work with them, I'm like light as a feather, and I can really feel the magnetic pull that it picks up. And it's pretty powerful, and it's been used in science for a very long time to pick up that I keep saying that magnetic pull because I can't think of another term. It's almost like a magnetism. I think it would fall under the science of magnetism, and is really profound. So with animals, from what I understand you're saying, is that they also have heart chakra, throat chakra, sacral chakra, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They also, from what I have seen, have their clairs more in check. Especially, they're so clairaudient. They can hear things. There's been animals used to let people know earthquakes are happening before they happen. Service dogs that can detect epileptic seizures before they happen. Now, you can't really train an animal to do that if they didn't have the intuitive sense in the first place. Would that be correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to hear about a case that you worked on, how the animal came to, how it was presented, what you did, and what the result was.
Okay. Well, I have to talk about the miracle dog that I got to work on.
Great.
This was when I first started doing this work, I worked for a holistic veterinarian back in Ohio, Dr. Pamela Fisher. And I was able to work on a little chihuahua. Her name was Hannah.
Sweet.
And she was a puppy mill rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came out of the rescue, she had to have one of her eyes removed because she kept beaten up on by other dogs in the cage that they were in. So she lost an eye, but she found a wonderful home. And this person who adopted her has a huge heart for animals, and she always has a pack of dogs in her home. Well, one day, one of the terrier mixes grabbed this little Hannah around the neck and shook her.
Oof.
And not only did she have holes in her neck then, but she wasn't able to move from the neck down.
Aww.
So she took her to her traditional vet, and they recommended that she be euthanized. And the pet parent looked at her in the eyes and said, no, she's not ready. And so she found Dr. Fisher's office, and I was able to work with her I used a gem essence formulation that is called Trauma Ease. So that helped her to release the traumas that she had in her short little life.
Oh, that's so great.
We did the energy work to balance her energy. And I used Craniosacral Therapy to work with the craniosacral system to help with relieving on a muscular level, working with the connective tissue to release some of that damage and trauma deep within her body. And after several sessions, she
thrived.
The only thing that I could see was when she ran across the yard, you could see the one front right leg, instead of moving forward, it just went out to the right a little bit.
So that gives her character. Right?
She was full of joy and had a beautiful life, and she's not with us any longer, but she had many more years with her favorite person.
So I think the lesson here, and that's beautiful, that you were able to be there for this family and that they were open to not accept, a terminal diagnosis for a four-legged family member. And I think it's really important as we raise our awareness for holistic health for our families and our children is that we look at our whole family, which includes our pets, whether people own goats or sheep or horses or cats, dogs, whatever, rabbits. If that's your family pet and that's a being that you love and loves you back, we need to go the extra step. And I was thinking when you were just saying about the gem tincture, we've rescued dogs. That's all we've done. And every dog has a story. And they bring their little quirks with them. I mean, they're so grateful to be alive, especially if you rescue them from a pound and they're on the list. They smell death, they know, and then all of a sudden they're home with you. But this trauma that you spoke about, people don't realize that it lives in their cells. And we're so used to like, oh, no, dogs get over it. Oh, they're going to forget. They're going to keep moving forward. But Maybe you have a dog that's scared of lightning. Maybe you have a dog that's afraid of the wind or the thunder or doesn't like people with hats or sunglasses or all the crazy stuff that we know our animals do. But we accept this as just a quirk. So we don't kind of reflect back as to like, well, can we release it? So this excites me a lot. It really does. And I know you do both healing touch and Reiki, which is really great. And when I was going through levels 1 and 2 with Reiki, I didn't have anyone to practice on other than one of our dogs. So
lucky dog.
I had him, and he loved it. He literally would just lay there, and I'd be like, Reiki on, and he would just be like, do me. So I find they really like that.
They are usually asleep by the time the session is over. That's pretty common.
Yeah. Have you worked with horses?
I have worked with some horses, not as many as I would like, but the coursework, the Healing Touch for Animals coursework is 1 day of working with dogs, and the second day you work with horses.
Wow.
So, and I volunteer at the Colorado Wolf and Wildlife Center in Divide.
I want to know about that place.
Oh my gosh, it's magical. It is my heaven on earth. It is a magical place where you can meet and hear stories about wolves, coyotes, foxes. They have peacocks and chickens and dogs. And it's just horses and mini donkeys. And so a lot of my volunteer work is there working on these amazing animals. Wolves are my favorite. Really?
So I've thought about that. And then I saw some video and I'm like, I don't know, like if I feel comfortable petting a wolf, am I supposed to? I mean, aren't they, they're not domesticated. Maybe they don't want that from us.
Well, the animals there are socialized to humans.
Oh, they
so
are.
It is safe. And there are specific tours where you can actually go in with the animals.
That's
and
so
you sit on the ground. And when a wolf, the head is this big. And when they come up and they look you in the eyes.
Jeez.
And they reach into your soul when they look at you.
That's what I've heard.
And you can just pet them and they love it.
I've heard that. I've heard that there's like a magical thing that happens. And it's pretty amazing. So I love the story you told about the miracle dog. I do love that story. Have you ever worked with animals that are just having kind of irrational fears or terrors?
Yes. A lot of, especially with the rescue dogs, you get stress. You get stress and anxiety and past traumas that show up in behavioral problems. So probably, even grief. I worked on a dog whose partner passed away. And that dog was the alpha between the two. So this poor dog was lost and wasn't acting like a dog. He was hiding in the basement, in the bathtub. He wasn't spending time with his people.
He was really struggling.
They would take him out for a walk and he would just plod along and not really be excited.
Really depressed.
So it took some, talk to the owners for about an hour and answered all of their questions. And then I did a session, and after, they said within a half hour they noticed a difference. And the session lasted an hour. So about halfway through, they started noticing a difference. And after 4 sessions, the dog was back to normal. So one session isn't always enough to correct everything that's going on. Right. Sometimes it's multiple sessions. Sometimes it's like peeling an onion. Work on, okay, let's release this fear. Okay, there's something else that comes up. Let's address that now. And so sometimes it's a process. It's a journey.
And you know what I think is hard for people in general is when the solutions and remedies are invisible. When we're doing
really
things
hard.
And you can't see them, but they're there. And we need to educate more about the energy field and the energy body, that it exists. I feel like there's been so many scientists that, gosh, this goes back like pre-biblical era of energy body exists. And physical body, there's physical body, spiritual body, but you have got this energy body. And animals have it, and plants have it, and rocks have it. And when you were saying you did this, the tincture with crystals, because the gems and the crystals have it. So you're taking that internally, right? And using that. And all of this needs more education for the masses.
Absolutely.
And do you write blogs, or do you help in any way to educate people?
I actually, I live up in the Divide Florissant area, Teller County. So I worked the farmer's market for several summers.
Nice.
Had a booth just educating people, explaining what I did. I do have on the website, I don't do a podcast or anything like that, but I do have I call it Holistic Hints. And so it's just nice information. Some of it is holistic in nature, but also I have just finished coursework to be a pet CPR first aid instructor.
Oh, wow.
And
that's
so
great.
I'll be teaching those courses. And so just health and safety, things that...
I love that. So pet CPR and first aid. And I love this because you never know what's going to happen. And I think about it now that I have one dog turning 11, which shouldn't be old in a dog life, but it's become older. And just, them, what they do, and climbing fences and doing this and that with bigger dogs. And I think it's so smart that you are doing this to help people. And you said pets, so it's not just, it could be your horse, it could be your goat, it could be any pet with a windpipe, right?
Well, for this particular course, it's mostly cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs.
She does have a small animal course as well.
Right.
But I thought I'd start with cats and dogs.
But nobody's doing that. I've never met anybody that's done that.
I had to come down here to the Springs years ago when I used to do pet sitting, and I wanted to be certified in this so that I could take care of the animals truly, if an emergency happened. And so, oh my gosh, I had to come down here.
You should call yourself like the pet paramedic.
Well, I've always shied away from, the Western medicine side of things. So it's kind of out of my wheelhouse a little bit, but I just felt like it was needed.
You had a calling.
If you're hiking with your dog or, out in Florissant, it could be, an hour before you get to a veterinarian. So these are things that you can do on the way to the vet.
Now, are you going to be teaching online? Is this an online course or in person?
It's going to be in person to start.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint presentation with actual practice times. So you can practice bandaging and CPR, rescue breathing, that kind of thing.
I'm definitely going to sign up for that. I just think it's great. Seriously, it's wonderful. Like, here people take their pets, whitewater rafting and all kinds of things. So anything can happen. So, and if you have puppies, they always eat the stupidest things. So I think this is phenomenal. So how do people get a hold of you? I mean, we're blessed to have you here in Colorado, and Divide isn't very far for us in Colorado Springs. So if somebody wants you, do you do distance Reiki for animals?
I do.
Oh my gosh, talk about that.
I actually, one of my clients was a cat in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
I met her mom, her human mom, when I was at the farmer's market. And when she got back, she had taken my business card and she called me and said, my cat has cancer and is not eating, and I can tell that she's in pain. And so I did distance work, and we did it about once a week through the end of her life. And what she found was the cat seemed to had more vitality, more energy, was more playful, and she didn't seem to be in as much pain. She was eating a lot better. So it was just providing that energetic support through the end of her life.
I think this is absolutely amazing. And people that are listening, I know you're going to have a lot of questions. Animal lovers are we're animal lovers, and we take it seriously. We take our pets seriously. They're part of our family. And learning new things, there's going to be a lot of questions. So if people want to get a hold of you, how does that work? Do you just take discovery calls? Like, tell people how to get a hold of you, how you book appointments, what the appointment might look like.
Sure.
All of that.
I welcome any opportunity to work with an animal. As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as a impossible case. You can reach me at my website, and that's spiritwolfenergetics.com. That's probably the best place to reach me.
At your website.
There is contact form on the website, and that generates an email that comes to me. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And do you have a Facebook page?
I have a Facebook page as well. That should be, I think I sent you the links.
Yeah,
for
we're
that.
going to have everything in the notes. But I encourage people, like Beth was just saying, she can do distance work. And I know a lot of people have a mindset, that it has to be medical or veterinary, and what is this, Reiki and healing touch for animals. So before you decide it's not for you or your pet, maybe research a little bit more, have a conversation with Beth. She's told you testimonials of animals that she's helped that would have otherwise not been on the planet as long as they were, and some that she's helped overcome trauma through the skill set that she has. So I want to thank you so much for being here. It's
Absolutely.
really, really opened a door for me, and I'm sure our listeners, and I hope we can share this particular podcast with as many animal rescue sites as we can, so that those that are rescuing understand, besides, there's a bit of veterinary stuff that happens when we rescue. Sometimes our dogs aren't so healthy, or they've come from situations that they're a little beaten up, but we take it on. And one of the things that we have to remember is that even though we're giving them the greatest new lease on life, that they're carrying trauma. And we want to work with their trauma, and we need people like Beth. And I'm just so grateful for the work you're doing, seriously. And it touches my heart. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
today.
having me.
Yeah, I think
fun.
It's so important. And then the Wolf Sanctuary is another thing on my list now. We are podcasting today from the Center for Essential Wellness. We're here in Colorado Springs, and today's podcast is sponsored by the Essential Wellness Society and Healing Wheel Holistic Healing Wheel Retreats. We do have a retreat coming up at the end of July in Manitou Springs, and we are so excited about it. Check it out at www.healingwheelholistic.com. Thank you so much.